Hello, everybody. We've got Revelle27 here, who's going to be talking a bit about his work in Dolby Atmos and his album Revelations. But first of all, we're going to start by listening to 6 tracks of it before we get up on stage. So enjoy. If you want to take that away, Melvin. Thank you.
What a performance.
Have a seat, get comfortable. Ooh, it's a bit scary.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Miles. I work on the European music team at Dolby, and this is Laurie, who is Revelle27. So let's start from the beginning. Let's hear a bit more about you and how long you've been doing music and how you started in all of this. Just introduce yourself, perhaps.
So, yeah, I'm Laurie, and this is my project, Revelle27. I've been releasing music about 14 years now. My other project was called Just Kidding. It was like uplifting, feel-good house music. A lot of soulful influence and, yeah, euphoric and dance music to make it feel good. I did that for a long time and still doing that as well. But then more recently, we're talking about four or 5 years ago, I had a bunch of tracks that I'd made with some friends and that didn't quite feel right for the Just Kidding project. So I started a solo project, Revelle27. Didn't really think too much of it. Just set it up as a way to release some tracks that didn't quite fit under my Just Kidding project. And then a couple of years went by and my mum unfortunately passed away through cancer. And I guess music had always been a way for me to escape life while I'm in the studio, to just lose myself in music. And it had always been a way that I felt kind of comfortable with expressing myself. So when I went through that, when I lost my mum, the first thing I did actually was get on the piano, not even in the studio, and just write a song, or finish writing a song that I started with her for her funeral. And then once I'd done that, I took a little bit of time to myself, attempted to heal, but lose it. Anyone that's gone through loss, I'm sure, can resonate that it's never, I don't think you ever fully heal. It's just a matter of finding a path, finding a purpose again, really. And that's what I ended up doing with the music, and with this project especially, because it was a solo project that allowed me to tell really personal stories through it, because it wasn't a collaboration with my friend anymore. I was just allowed to take it wherever I wanted to, and I found myself in the studio just feeling like I wasn't interested in making anything that didn't really embody like the emotion I was going through, the pain I was going through. So yeah, I ended up making my music about my experience and about my grief, about the period of losing my mum, and I made it all really personal, and it's made me more passionate than ever about it. I ended up making a whole album that's just dedicated to my mum and about my feelings of love I still have for her, and kind of figuring out, navigating all the emotions that you go through, and trying to tell the story of how I've found my path and how I've found new purpose, and which I really, really have, which went to a whole new level as soon as I started releasing these records with yeah, people that have gone through similar things, and I could talk for hours about this. So maybe we move on.
Well, no, I think you can hear it. You obviously got sort of the samples when you've got yourself talking and in the background, along with uplifting tracks that are there as well. It kind of works really well. And clearly, when you listen to the whole album, it feels like you're very much in that story, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listening to it here, we'll talk a bit more about Atmos in a while. But I mean, so you said you started the Just Kidding sort of project 14 odd years ago. What sort of got you into music production in the first place?
I was a drummer.
Okay.
When I was younger, that was all I cared about really was drumming and listening to music. And like I said before, yeah, music was always my escape. I was into rock, I was into heavy metal. And I was always attracted to things that like pushed the boundaries of sound and emotion and like really expressive genres. Like heavy metal and punk and so yeah, I was drumming and then the older I got, the more I got into electronic music. And yeah, I just downloaded some software, Reason I think it was, and then put what I knew from the drums into started programming drums and just kind of figured everything out. I've never learned any like traditional like melody like. Yeah. I know enough piano to figure out some chords, but basically I just run off of emotion. I've always just played around until I find something that like really captures my heart, and for me that's. For me, I mean, I'm sure I could make better music if I had more foundation knowledge. But like, for me, the most important thing is just like how it makes me feel. And I just keep trying until I manage to create things that make me feel that way. Yeah, and so I guess you moved across from Reason to Ableton at some point in the past, and has that been your main tool of choice for the last few years? Is that? Yeah. Oh, I went from Reason to Logic, okay. and then to Ableton. Then I ended up on Ableton, okay. But that was still quite a while ago. Okay. Yeah. And do you have a studio that you work out of? Is it kind of a home studio? Yeah, just a home studio. Fantastic. Yeah. And wherever I live, I've moved around quite a lot, but wherever I need to have a studio in my house because. That's my favourite place to be. So like, why not have that in my home? With softwares like that, all of those softwares you've just mentioned, there's just so much option there, in terms of sort of loops and machines and native instruments and all the things you can use. Do you set yourself limitations to help your workflow, or have you got particular rules or anything in your process to sort of help you get from A to B, or does anything go? I'd say more the latter. Anything goes. Yeah, like I don't try. I know what you're saying. I guess you're saying like the possibilities are endless. Like the possibilities are endless in the studio now with all the new plugins that are coming out, and especially with AI and everything. Like it really is endless. Like what you can do. So I can imagine some people definitely get in the studio and can be quite overwhelmed with that. Yeah. But I guess for me. The thing that makes me see my route easier is that I know what I'm trying to say, and I know what the story is, especially now. Yeah. It's just how do I translate my story into music, into the language of music. And in terms of collecting the vocal samples and stuff, were those things that were recorded by yourself? Have they been sort of taken from here, there, and everywhere? Obviously, some of them work very well with your unfortunate theme for the album. So, are those things you've gone out there and found, or were some of those things recorded specifically? Both and everything. Okay. Some of them were sampled. So old vocal samples where I've just found lyrics that really told my story for me and like really embodied the way I was feeling. Like I'll be loving you forever. The first song I released after my mum passed away, the story of me finding that vocal was quite a strange one. It had been 6 months after my mum passed away, and I was like, I need to release some music. I hadn't released any music. So I just wanted to get something out. It didn't matter what. I didn't really mind what it was. So I was going through old instrumentals that I'd written maybe a year before. Pulled up a few of them, had a listen. There was one like kind of piano house kind of vibe. I was like, I feel like a record label will pick this up. Everyone knows what piano house is. Like everyone's a fan of that. Had some emotion to it, so I pulled that one up. I was like, yeah, this one could be good. Started going through some old samples, some old like soul samples, some vocals. Just listen to the vocal really quietly. Just listening out for melodies, because at this point I just wanted to release anything. So I wasn't really too bothered about what the message was in the song. Really, I just wanted a nice melody, soulful melody that like complemented my instrumental. So I was going through all these vocals. One caught my ear, just melody-wise, the way it like interacted with my chord progression and the piano. And so I pulled it into my track, started placing it around, like phrasing-wise. Where do I want this? Where do I want that? Pop that there. Got it to a place where it was feeling good emotionally, even though I had no idea what she was saying. Anyway, I'm like, okay, I should probably turn it up now. So we're really quiet here. Start turning it up, and I hear her saying, I can't wait to see my mum again. And that was a moment in the studio that, looking back, was such an emotional thing.
Do you think that was something that sort of spurred you on to go, and I'm going to do a whole album?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I didn't know I was going to do an album at that point, really. I was just like, oh my God, it's meant to be. And I've just found by accident, I've found a vocal that completely sums up how I'm feeling right now. So I released that. I think at that point, that was the point I was like, okay, I can actually tell my kind of deep and painful story, but through uplifting music. Yeah. And that was the point I realized that. Put that out, decided actually I want to actually start telling people my story. So I shot a music video for it, where I shaved my head and watching old home movies of my mum, and it was a very emotional one. But it was not until after I released that, put myself out there in that way, that I started to get all these messages from people that have gone through similar things, and I was like, damn, like this has some potential. Like this really has some potential to help people. Yeah. And that's something I haven't felt so strongly about before in music, is like really the healing potential of it. And I only realised that through doing it.
And so the culmination of all of this, resulted in the full album Revelations, which came out 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks
just
ago.
About. Yeah.
And we got connected, maybe 6 or 7 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. And at that point, there was a few emails floating around, and we'd learned that you'd already started working in Dolby Atmos. So tell us a bit about that. So, I mean, you'd obviously sort of done everything in stereo at that point, and then so what gave you the idea, actually, maybe I'll give this Dolby Atmos thing a go?
Well, I've done a fair bit of mixing and mastering in my time as well, so I'm comfortable with like finishing off tracks, and I'm very specific about or particular about the final version of a song. Like I really want it to really do the song justice. Like the musicians, artists, writers, everyone put so many hours in the studio that if that final version of that song isn't up to standards, isn't quite as good as it possibly could be, then you're doing all them people a disservice that's worked on the track. So I've always been particular about that. So then when I found out about Dolby and the possibility of making the music all around yourself and putting the person, making it even more personal kind of experience for the listener, one where they can be like inside the song almost. I was like, well, this is kind of how I approach music anyway. Like when I'm making music, I kind of visualize it almost like a journey, like you're going on a journey. Like I wanna kind of, in my music regardless, I want to make you feel like you're on a roller coaster or you're at a theme park. You're on some ride, and like you're not quite sure what's happening sometimes, but it's taking you here, it's pulling you there, and it's making you feel this way, but you might feel like that. But what is it meant to be? Is it meant to be like that? And it's for me, that journey of listening to music and going through all them, going on that ride, that's what I love about music. So then to be able to put the listener in the center of it rather than have the music in front of them, for them to be in the middle of the music.
Great.
You know, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess you got online and found some tutorials and worked out how to link Ableton to the Dolby renderer and all of that stuff.
That to be fair, that bit took the most time. Really, was just like figuring out the logistics of it. But once I figured that out, it was just a matter of, oh, what do I want this synth to do? Like, and really, I was very, as I approached music, I guess, just very playful with it. Yep. And I was just like, oh, what happens if I get this synth to like spin around the room? What happens if I do that? You know, like what, like, and just, I just got creative with it and didn't really worry too much. I mean, maybe I could have like listened to some songs that were mixed in Dolby before, but I was just like, no, I'm going to do it in my own way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd done.
Yeah, and so when you first came and we met a couple of months ago, you brought a couple of tracks that you'd started already and you'd been working on headphones. And then, we were able to play your mixes that you'd started on headphones in our studio in London, which I hopefully then spurred you on to then go away and carry on and finish the rest of the tracks. We won't get into all the technical details of working binaurally versus on headphones versus speakers, but you sort of went away, finished off the entire album and brought it back in, and although it didn't manage to land at the same time as your stereo release, it's actually now mixed in Atmos and is in the streaming services.
Available now
this week, so actually you can listen to it out on the soundbar later on as well. So where I got to now?
Do you want to talk about headphones?
Yeah, we can talk about
my experience of that, because like I was actually surprised how well like the headphone, what you do on the headphones translates to like an actual setup, Dolby setup. Like you said, like I mixed the first two tracks just on headphones without ever being in a Dolby environment. Yeah. And they might have taken a couple of little tweaks here and there, but like I was pretty happy with what I did. Really, like the way the system is set, so you do really feel like you are in the room as opposed to just a regular stereo master. Obviously, I think it sounds much better when you're in a proper setup for it. Yeah. But yeah, like I was really impressed with how that translates.
I think it gets a little bit of getting used to listening. As we find a lot of the time is when you're listening to binaural, you're placed into a space. And obviously, what we've been listening to for 50 odd years in stereo is just taking the equivalent to two speakers and then firing them directly into our ears, which is actually technically really weird. It doesn't make any physical sense. It's just what we're all used to. So it's good that you sort of instantly connected with it and were able to work. And that's what we find a lot of the time. But as I'm sure you probably found, is then when you brought it into the studio to finish it off and get it ready for kind of delivery, having it coming through 16 speakers or however many we had that day, was very valuable, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was an amazing experience to then take it into the studio and really hear it in its full potential, like how it's designed to be listened to.
Yeah, that's right. So the studio that we're in is a 916 configuration, which is, although you can't see anything because it's quite hazy, there are 16 speakers in this room as well, so it's the same kind of setup. But the whole point of Atmos is that it sort of scales up and down. So it will scale down to a soundbar, which is like a 5.1.2 or a 7.1.4, or it'll scale down to coming out of your laptop or your phone, binaurally through headphones, as we've talked about, and then all the way up to systems like this. So, and there's a lot of cars coming out there now at the moment with Atmos systems in as well. So the whole point of everything you're doing, working on headphones, then taking it into a studio, is to create something that then will translate all the way up and all the way down. And I think that's really evident here, that we've been able to play it back today. We're sort of coming to the end of the time, really, and we've got one more track to play, but we might ask a couple of questions, but one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what is your advice for somebody using Atmos for the first time? One thing I would like to say is that to have somebody, an artist coming in that's taken the bull by the horns with Atmos and just gone for it is great, because actually we do find sometimes people are a little bit reticent to get started. But this is somebody who I met who'd already done a couple of mixes, and that was great. So, what's your advice? Is for somebody getting started with it?
I'd say to start off with, there are a lot of different ways you can set it up practically with your DAW. Don't get overwhelmed. It's actually a lot simpler than there's just so many options. So it's like, don't get carried away with, oh, but this possible and this possible and this possible. All you need to do is set it up to make it work for you, which really doesn't take that long. And then you're just working in your DAW, and and also don't be intimidated by it. It's just an extra few speakers. It's just get creative with it, and have fun. Because for me, it was a really fun experience, and that is really what I've done this solo project for and released this album for, is for my own healing and to make me feel better, and help other people in the process. So for me, once again, with this process, my number one thing was just enjoy it. Music's there to be enjoyed, and as music makers, you got to enjoy doing it, and that's going to translate. And the more free you feel, the more creative you will allow yourself to be, and I think the results will then be what the potential that they have.
Yeah. Have we got any questions in the audience before we play the last track? Can't see any hands up. Fine. We can't play. We've only got one queued up, but you can go through and listen to them afterwards. Well, in which case, Laurie, Revelle27, thank you very much for joining us. And we're going to. Do you want to introduce the last track?
Yeah. So this last track we're going to play is the last track on the album. It's the final track. It's called "We'll Be Together." The album kind of goes through my process of going from a really dark place at the very beginning of the album, as you hear. All the recordings you actually heard on the album are all taken from one night that I overdosed on THC searching for something to help my mum with her pain. I took a trip to the hospital and ended up having a lot of realizations or revelations about myself and about my relationship with my mum, and so that's they're what tie the album together and help tell the story, which once again was another massive reason for me trying the Dolby thing out, was because it's such a cinematic album that I wanted you to feel like you were there with me. You was there with me on this journey. The way I kind of see it is it's like an invitation to come and see what it was like going on in my head. And through the darkness, but then also finding the light. So this final song is "We'll Be Together," which is it's a hopeful, optimistic one that I have. I'm not particularly religious, but I believe we'll be together.